Good evening and welcome to the first edition of season 2 of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Basin. Joining me is Garrett Punchy Dill and Maceo Dill. We do have Nikita Robinson who will be joining us as well in the show. But gentlemen, it's been a while. We all know that the 2020-2021 season was brought to a halt, never got completed. There's been a lot of changes, or some changes to the league structure, and of course now we're on hold for the start of the 2021-2022 season. But we all know that the transfer list, the original transfer list, has been put out. Looking at that list, Maceo, obviously, some teams have gained players and others have lost a host of players, but on paper, some look dominant. But actually, on paper, it doesn't always work out how one would think it will. Initially, when you saw the transfer list, Maceo, what was your first thought?
Yeah, the multi-movement that's happening. I mean, that was my first thought watching the movement that's happening between players and clubs. It's factual now. Loyalty to a club and longevity to a club it doesn't exist. So that is something that's becoming factual to me when you see the amount of movement of players. Um, and I think that's something that's global now. Something that's global as you see players that are moved around globally. Are long gone are the days that a player stays at one club. So what resonates with me is that it becomes, well, clubs, what are you doing for the player to entertain him, to keep him there? You know, what are you providing for that player that makes him want to stay there? So the idea of blind loyalty to a club doesn't exist, and that's the first thing that came to mind to me, that the evidence is now there that that loyalty and that blind loyalty to one club does not exist.
Yeah. Well, let me jump quickly to Punchy, because Punchy came up in an era where you saw very little movement of players because they were loyal to the player was loyal to the club. Punchy, over the last few years, we've seen upward of 100 players moving around on a regular, even between 90 and 110 players moving around. Is that a concern?
Very much so for the development of this country, very much for stability of football in this country. Remember, it was a very small country, and so what if you go back to the 70s, you go back to when Clyde Best started, or even when I started, that was it. Loyalty for North Village. The loyalty is not there anymore. It's lacking because our society has changed so much, and I want to add to this because I what I want to add to is about what Andrew had to say about the significance of, if you read last weekend's paper when Andrew had that thing about the significance of how important it is for the association to understand what's going on in our country. And look, at 11 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, the best players are leaving this country. They're going on to England or going somewhere to get. So let's say you're left with a lot of, let's say the age group between 15 and 26,
Mhm.
right? So there's still a lack of loyalty because they don't understand the structure. So the point that I'm making is, sir, we are in a very, very critical part of this country in terms of various loyalty to your club or loyalty to the game. And I think what's happened in this country is that the association, I don't know if they should shoulder some of this blame or the club should shoulder some of this blame, why this is happening, because players are not going to keep shifting if there is something structurally for them in the club that they're with. Now, the point that I'm bringing full circle for this, sir. I like what St. George's are attempting to do. St. George's. I like what PH is doing. I like just St. George's attempting to kind of figure out what they've been losing over the years. And they're doing something about it with Freddie Hall, with David Signal. I'm going to name some names. And what they're doing down there. But you can bet that St. George's is going to be okay the next 4 and 5 years. So the point that I'm saying is that what we're seeing is this. It's also what's happening in our country. and it's got to be addressed. And how it's going to be addressed? Why people just shifting for this club and that club? They go with the coaches. They go with um why? And my point is that maybe what Andrew was saying about the structure of the clubs is so important.
Right.
It's so important so that you are not going to want to leave us.
Right.
And so
Well,
that's what I feel about this.
yeah.
What's happening in this
I,
country?
I'm a firm believer that the clubs run the association.
That
The structure of the club, Maceo, you might agree or may disagree, but the whatever structure the club has is what's going to capture the imagination of the player, the parents, to keep them at the club. When you start talking about the national program, that's a different, that's the association side. But what we want to do is ensure, but as Punchy has said, Maceo, we have kids leaving at 10, 11, and 12 who are now in different programs, in different structured programs. One of the major problems is that, and we know it for a fact, that in Bermuda, at our youth level, it is all volunteer work. It's not a paid, like the head coach will get paid, but he or she then primarily deals with the senior program and oversees the junior program. That most of the guys in the junior program may get a stipend or do it for the love, because they love the club, not because of the players. It's because they love the club. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I agree to an extent on that how we are culturally shifting because even let's take me as an example. I came up at North Village. I volunteered my time for a long time, you know, and then North Village moved to a point where they was charging kids $400 to play. So now it's money coming in. So now we have to talk about how you share that money with also coaches,
Hmm.
so and how North Village had a structure based on qualifications at the time. I actually implemented part of that I implement that structure. If you have a B license, you have a C license, you have a D license, this is what you're gonna get paid. So here's some incentive for coaches to be there. So potentially that was a semi-pro opportunity. Now the money that you were paying coaches for sure it wasn't enough. I mean, it was peanuts, but you was moving to that level,
Hmm.
and and we have to do that. We have to do that
Yeah.
because society demands. Society demands. So I glorify the person that loves the game and volunteers his time, but then you can put accountability on that volunteer person when he wants to say that's it has enough. So we do have to go for a point where we move away from just volunteer to we move into the dynamics of people being compensated for their time. And
Hmm.
you let's take Kenny Thompson and Andrew Bascom. I mean, they're built systems. They're built systems where they employ people. I mean, Andrew over at Solters and his program, he employs people. He that's a full-time job for him, and he's employed people, and even under that umbrella, they're educated people to get licensed. So, so now it does have to be something in it for everybody to keep their attention. It has to, and I like I said, I do glorify the old time where you play it for one and and you just stayed there no matter what. It has to be something in it for the player for him to stay there. He has to see and PHC. Fonji mentioned PHC. They're being able to keep a lot of their players because they're sending their players to school. They're on the other side of it. PHC has a foundation that they're financing kids going away to school. They're financing different opportunities for kids. Now you have to contract those things. So that's the thing that I used to say with North Village. Okay, if we're going to finance people going to school or finance coaches getting their education, you have to now professionalize yourself and contract that person to be able to work in your community versus that person getting the finance and next thing you know they're going to do something better.
Right.
So we clubs have to professionalize their approach to this now.
Mm.
They do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Punchy, Maceo mentioned something. He mentioned two names. He mentioned Andrew and Kenny. Those two individuals saw something in providing a service outside the club structure, and they've actually done rather well for themselves. When you start talking about within the club structure, how does that actually resonate coming back into a club structure to do the same things?
I think good, very good question. I think a lot of clubs have got to, maybe we should do the same. Maybe she would also have seminars that encourage people, the coaches, even though they have the license, quote unquote. They say, okay, I'm a licensed AB coach, but do they understand the structure of the programs that Andrew, like Maceo, would understand, like Kenny understands the structure of the club, and you can see the success wherever they've been.
Mm.
So my point, and I have a lot of discussion with Macy about that. It still comes down to the structure, the way we play, the structure when we're not playing, how the young players, the whole coaching system at clubs have got to be. I think, my personal opinion is this: you get somebody and get themselves, they can take a B license, and they don't know nothing about really what the player does understand.
They can pass the
Uh,
test.
exactly. No, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
go on about that. But what is needed, and I've seen it. How do you really get these players at technical high level with people with B and C licenses, and it's not working? So my point is, this is not always a dawn stroke. It's always, we are still heading in the right direction. We're heading in the right direction. But I still think that we have to kind of be proactive with the club structure. That if the person is coaching on the 10 is not doing the right job, then it's got to be really taken to task about that.
Mm.
Because now, like, I'm gonna go outside the norm. I got a grandson's leaving to go to in November.
Mm.
He's very good, very nice. But I always say to you, I know what's gonna expect of you when he's going up to the north to go up where he's going to play. I said, I know you're gonna be out there at 11 years old and be ready. So the point that I'm saying is now that the country is moving, younger players are moving out of the country faster because there are opportunities. Whether they
Yes.
go to England, they go to Portugal. But the point is getting them ready at 12 years old, what they need to understand. And I know,
Mm.
Maceo, you and I have talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
it's a very full
I mean,
dedication for the
I mean,
mind. Yeah. And I'm talking about, sorry, Maceo, but the thing about
Sure.
this, Earl, is where we're going.
Mm.
And that's what we're talking about. I'm not going to take the structure of the clubs, also
Right.
includes what these young coaches that are involved get these A and B license, what do they really are teaching?
Right.
and,
Okay.
and
Here, let me ask you a
the,
question. I know you want to answer.
sure,
I know you want to respond to him, but
sure.
I think the question I'm going to ask is going to help you respond. Punchy used to say last in the first season of our show that we needed to ensure that everybody was on the same page and the structure in which we played. Wouldn't you agree or disagree, whichever you want to do, with the fact that the Coaches Association should be identifying our strengths because they're actually handling the players, and then we build our football on the system based upon our Coaches Association to strengthen football in general?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that it becomes a no-brainer to implement, and from that level, the coaching association. So, we have our Bermuda Football Coaching Association, and in collaboration with the BFA, that's where
Hmm.
they should be identifying what we're trying to achieve,
Hmm.
and what we're trying to achieve looks like, and then that gives direction to clubs. That gives directions to clubs as to what we're trying to achieve.
Right.
So, we could create at each club more Kennys and more Andrew Bascoms at each club. So if you create that at each club and the players are getting service, then they're not going to move to a Kenny program or Andrew program because those programs are the better programs, you
Hmm.
know. Or I mean, we see Kenneth's history whichever club he moves to, the players move there with him, right?
Hmm.
So, but if we implemented that at each club, it's somebody at each club, they could stay and get the service there, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I agree. I agree that the coaching association has to play a more a bigger role in bringing about this this evolution to this direction. You
Mm,
know, I
definitely.
totally agree with that.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're gonna talk about the amount of transfers and which team on paper looks stronger, which team on paper looks weaker. But then we have to evaluate because you might have picked up 12 or 13 players, don't necessarily mean you actually made your whole squad stronger. In numbers, maybe, but what about quality? We'll be right back.
With perfect timing for the height of the summer, Greenhouse Bermuda brings us the island's newest iced tea, Newman's Own Organic Iced Tea in a kaleidoscope of delicious flavors. Most shoppers have seen Newman's Own in the condiment section, recognizable due to the founder's caricature prominently featured on the label, and many pick it up in the knowledge that 100% of the profit goes to registered charities. Newman's Own offers us a new refreshing thirst quencher, dry raspberry, lemon, peach, and passion fruit organic Newman's Own iced teas. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out.
And welcome back. Actually, Macy has dropped out, but Macy is back. So guys, we were talking about that. If you look at the numbers, there were 74 Premier Division players moving. There were 19 First Division, and they could be mixing between the two. And there were 11 players from youth going to senior for a total of 104 players moving this season. We saw the amount of what was it for Crossroads? There were for Crossroads there were 16. For Southampton there were 17. For Robin Hood there were 13. And if you look at it, one of the biggest surprises, Maceo and Punchy, Robin Hood were fighting for a spot to win the league the last time we were in actual action, to lose 13 players. What would you put that down to, Maceo?
Well, it gets back to that word loyalty. Those players are not transitioned through any loyalty program or youth program at Robinwood, so they have no love or affection for it, for Robinwood. So because they have no love and affection for it, it didn't matter what they was capable of winning last year. That was there. If Robinwood didn't provide the same incentives this year, those players are not going to be there. My guess is that whatever incentives that Robinwood was providing for the players to be there are not there no more, especially with COVID situations and whatnot. And the players are choose to go out. I mean, other places. I see Justin Bow that went over to Robin Hood, and he's back in North Village. And And I mean, it's no secret that some of the incentives that Robinhood provided players is opportunities overseas. You know
Mm.
that, and those are good incentives. Those are actually, and this is what we've been talking about, right? We're talking about clubs, our local clubs, even providing incentives in a way of player development or bettering your life somehow.
Hmm.
So I would guess that those incentives are not there, and I am potentially saying that Robinhood could soon not exist at that level. We're seeing that before, right? We're
Right.
seeing this is not new to us when we see it. So potentially, with the number of players, I mean, one of the big movements was Antoine Russell.
Going back to PHC. I think I think he's having internet problems. Punchy. But let me ask you, Punchy, if 13 players was to leave North Village when you were coming through, what how do you think that would have affected the entire program at North Village?
It would have killed us. It would have killed us. Really. Even though we have backup, but are we talking about the senior players? We're talking about the senior
Senior
level.
players, yes. Senior players, yes.
Yeah. It would have really been detrimental to North Village, where we are today. And that is really a cause for concern to me, because what's happened, and as added to what Maceo was saying, is saying what happened at Robinhood, at BA. You got to understand there's a lot of guys from overseas that were playing for Robinhood at the time.
And
They were also playing with BA. I could go back to when I was playing when the first senior league was started, the over age group, the reserve league was started. And Robinhood, just our society has changed so much.
Right.
So now it's called very condensed, if I could make that, if that sounds, it makes any sense. It's condensed. Now it's very small now. The numbers are smaller, and the quality is even become less smaller for the age groups. So let's say Andrew's going to start up with BA. He's starting. He's going to be starting again, and I wish him the best. But that's a 2-year, 3-year. That's a 2-year program that's gonna take some time. But the point that I'm saying is that it would have hurt North Village. It would have hurt us. Look what happened to Wolves.
Yeah.
And see, we're still reverting back to the fact. We're still going back to the fact. The stability and the organization of clubs like Wolves. Look at the statistics. Who travels more? Who leaves clubs more? Wolves. Let's go back. Let's see what's going to happen down at X-Roads or Crossroads.
Crossroads, yes.
Right. The structure is it ain't going to happen in like with North Village. It ain't going to happen with PHC. It won't happen with Denny Pond.
Right.
It's not going to happen with Cougars. Right. So let's go outside those four clubs. Look what happens to the rest of it.
Yeah.
Everybody starts changing. Everybody starts going somewhere else. And so, again, it's about organization. It's about club structure, about people in charge knowing exactly where they're going, what they want to achieve. And I think, again, if I were to say to you, I seen Norfolk, I seen some of the training games before the pandemic started again. I think that Norfolk, myself, I'm going to speak on what I seen. The against, I see a practice match against Somerset. They were okay. They were okay. Sadeo was back. Sadeo, which is Maceo's son, he was back. The attitude, but I wouldn't say that we're actually at that level, even with Kenny. The quality of players that we have is still questionable.
Well, I mean, and Maceo could probably elaborate a little bit more on this. If you look at how PHC is structured, it took them a little while to get back because they had a lot of young people going away to school and they're filtering back into the program. With North Village kind of just starting that, it's going to take a little while. So I think it will probably take another 2 years before the guys who are established away, if they don't make it and they come back, then they'll start filtering in. And then you'll have a link chain of that happening because as we all know, the chances of making a professional are very slim. But if they're in the professional setup, i.e. in school, in academies, in semi-pro teams and all of that, but when they come back, as long as we can keep them to that level and they bring the other players up to them, I think that's where the standard not only at the club level, but at the national level, will actually rise. Macy, what's your thoughts?
Well, North Phillips and PHC is a little different, and we used to put North Phillips and PHC in the same cattle. But when you go down to the detail of North Phillips, PHC over the years bought their players through their youth program.
Yes.
They bought their players. North Phillips used to once bring their players through that. We know there's been an influx of players to North Phillips that come with Kenny that's not came through North Phillips and has actually displaced North Phillips players. So if you look at a Zanike Hendrickson, left footer, a quality of player, or a Derek Bowson in Tosh Bow, another player that's come through the North Phillips ranks that are leaving North Phillips. So this is not a new thing. So it's very different from what PHC's done. PHC did bring in a coach such as Scott Morton to stabilize their ship, but they was always producing their earn. So now PHC's got their earn sitting at the hand in truck that also worked along with bringing those players through their youth through the youth program. So the PHC culture and the PHC way. The last time North Phillips did that with when I was at the Hound, I came through North Phillips' youth program coaching those players. So when I got to the senior team with the likes of Jamiko, Kofi, and all those guys, I dealt with those players from those five. So I knew their triggers. I knew what to do. And that was the last time that was a authentic North Phillips team. That was authentic North Phillips culture. Kenny being a good coach and all that, but that's not authentic North Phillips. So it's a very different dynamics that's happening at North Phillips versus what's happening at PHC. So PHC is really strong. Yeah, PHC is really strong right now, and North Phillips is really dependent. North Phillips is very dependent on what Kenny does or he doesn't do.
Yeah.
You know, rather than being dependent on the community of North Phillips coaches.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Kim Robinson and Jose Diaz. We're going to be talking about youth football and the opportunities abroad for our young people, as well as the people that are already abroad over in Spain, applying their trade right now, and the opportunities for more young people. We'll be right back.
Nuco is a company impressively dedicated to the production of coconut concoctions. Their motto is coconuts for life, and however that resonates, it seems to have done the trick for vegan snack lovers. Nuco uses 3 ingredients in their wraps: pure organic and GMO-free coconut meat, coconut water, and unrefined virgin coconut oil. Nuco extols them as the all-natural alternative to bread and tortillas. This month we're featuring gluten-free Nuco organic coconut wraps in a 5-pack. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Welcome back, Maceo. We want to welcome in Kim Robinson, and I want to say it right, Jose Diaz. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's fine. It's Jose, but I know it's difficult for you guys to pronounce.
Yeah, Jose Diaz. I'm sorry, Jose Diaz.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, Kim, you have been working with families for about, what is it now, 4 years, 4 or 5 years?
About 4 years.
Yeah, in helping young people to take that giant leap to something that, and I know this is something that Maceo can reflect to as well, because he's taking that opportunity to get his son out of Bermuda at a young age as well. But just give us a little background of the program, and then we'll go to Jose and get a little background of the actual program itself.
Okay. So Global Education and Sports Partners Limited, we actually formally became one back in 2019 of November. And it's myself, my husband, Jose, and Matt Kokoska. That was on the show the last time. So basically what we do is we come on as a consultant, really and truly, and help families to try and find the best fit for their children. And basically you use their sport as a vehicle to fund their education. So if you listen to the name of it, it says Global Education. So it's education first, sports second. So that's pretty much what we've been doing. We have about maybe 5 or 6 children already overseas in the US, and we do have a few over in Spain. But I will let Jose speak to that piece as he is located in Spain. But yeah, that's pretty much what we've been doing.
Jose?
Yeah. So yeah, well, first of all, I've been in the in business for 10 years already. I've been helping student athletes to go to U.S. university boarding schools, and like 2 years ago, we had so many requests to go to Spain because Spain is worldwide famous in terms of football. And yeah, we decided to start 2 new programs. One is already running here in Alicante, where I live, and the other one is going to be in Barcelona next September 22. That's the one that we have here in Alicante is more for like a postgrad year when they finish high school and they want to have the exposure to play in the Spanish system league. I think we have 3 guys now. 2, they are like 18 years old. They're still in the last year of the youth system, and we have also another guy that he plays for the seniors, the under 23 team. I think the three of them, they are enjoying. This is a lovely city here, like very sunny. It's not like Bermuda, but it's close. Okay, and no, it's like they have like the real experience of a semi-professional team. They train like a professional team. Of course, they are like doing something for education. It's not like school or university. They're doing like a coaching course. But that's the second step that we wanted to take this year. Opening the new boarding school in Barcelona that is also university because it's a campus. So we are going to be able to start from 10th grade to 11, 12 and PGs, like postgrad year. And they also can have like university program on campus, okay? Because we belong to University of International University of Catalonia. It's really recognized, really top one here in Spain. So next year we want to take care of the education because that's the first thing, as Kim said. I mean, for us, the most important thing is like good people, good education, and sports. In this case, soccer or football. Okay. Yeah. We have partnered like a professional team. They are like helping us so much to grow this program. The name of the team is Gimnàstic de Tarragona. I don't know if it sounds familiar to you guys. This is the oldest team in Catalonia area. It's like where Barcelona, Espanyol, all these teams are. They were like in first division 7 years ago. Now they are in the third tier, like second B. And they're going to run all the methodology, like all the training sessions. The good thing about this is the players. I mean, of course, the facilities are going to be amazing. The name, I'll let you know later. The education is going to be top education, but also there is a big difference between other academies here when, like youth players, they're going to be able to play. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the FIFA rules and all these things, right. But being with this school, we're going to be able to have like young Bermudians on the age of 15, 16 years old, and they're going to be able to play in the Spanish System League.
Sure. Now, Maceo, hearing that and knowing the program in which your son and others that you've assisted, what questions would you have for Jose and Kim about, for the parents of those coming behind parents such as you?
But just an FYI, this relationship with Spain is not new. I was involved in a relationship with Valencia on their basketball association. That, if you remember, Saji Bascom and even the goalkeeper Trot,
Nathan.
Trot,
Nathan.
Nathan Trot. Those guys were over at Valencia and similar type of capacity. And also Kenny had something up with Kanea, where they,
Right.
So this is not a new thing for Bermudian players to go over there. Now, learning from that experience, there were big cultural shocks for Bermudians to go to Spain. So when I say cultural shocks, adjusting to the language, adjusting to the high level of football and the demands on the Bermudian, coming from what I would say a very amateur way of doing football in Bermuda versus having to meet the demands of a professional environment. I mean, Spain's won 2 European Cups, a World Cup. They got Barcelona, Real Madrid, they had the best players in there. And what I did find that the Bermudian players struggled over there. They struggled over there. So what support systems that are in place to make that adjustment? Because it's very hard to make that adjustment at 14 years old. It's easier at 7, 8 years old, but it's very hard to make that adjustment. What are the support systems in place for that adjustment? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, for the one that we have in Alicante, we don't have that kind of player that they need to be like 18 years old, because otherwise they're not going to be able to play. I mean, they are adjusting very well in terms of culture, because Alicante is like a beach area, very warm. We have plenty of international at this team. I think we have like 40 internationals on this team. So there's like people from all over. In terms of the new one, I mean, this is going to be like a boarding school. I mean, if you guys are familiar with the U.S. system, this is going to be the same way. We are going to have internationals classes. They're going to be able to have classes in English. If they want to do it in Spanish, they can have it in Spanish, but the main language is going to be English. So I think that would be easier for them. Of course, we know soccer is high here. They're going to be training with their age Spanish players too, at their age, because they will play. They're like youth. They'll play with the under 17, under 15, whatever is their age. But we want to start from scratch. The team, they will belong to the Gymnastic de Tarragona. But this team, they're going to start from the scratch on the Spanish System League. So what that means? That means that they're going to start playing in the lower level. It's a high level anyway, but they're going to start from there. And if they're good enough and they show that they can go to better level, we'll take care of that and can, get them into trials with the Gymnastic of Tarragona, like youth system. So they will have plenty of opportunities. And we're going to be very, very close to them. I mean, they are 14, 15 years old, and we need to treat them like our sons, So
one of the things I'm going to ask you, Kim, is reassurance of parents. Here you are, you're a mother that have sons abroad and all that. Some people who may not have all the information of what it looks like. The part you play is the education part of ensuring or comforting the parents. Here's an opportunity for you to tell the parents the other side, because Jose is telling us about the football side, Maceo is talking about the football side. It's the education side now that I think a lot of people want to make sure that if they're sending their son or daughter overseas to be in a football environment, whether it be semi-pro, whether it be university, college, or academy, they want that reassurance that they're still getting the education component.
Okay, so for me, as I said, yes, I am a part of the business, but I'm a mother first. So I have to ensure that I'm on top of what's coming through with the Hill education system as well. So I will sit down with Jose and work through the Hill curriculum that they're working on to make sure that I'm comfortable with it. So I'll be able to communicate to the families as well. So we have about a year to pretty much get it together. We've been in planning mode for about what, Jose, about 6 months at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for me, I'm one of those that I have to get all the information and feel comfortable before I get other people to buy in, because that's basically what it's going to be at the end of the day. Right now, for me, I have one son overseas in school at this point. Unfortunately, we have one that's back here. But again, education was for me. So he's already online doing an accredited course. And, football comes after. But education is the first thing for me.
Mm. Now, interestingly enough, Macy, your son has started a new school over in the UK. Deciding what part of, because we all want the best. We all want our young people to be professionals, but the education component is just as vital. So thinking about or looking at the academy in which he's at now, what was the thought process of actually picking that one?
Well, I mean, I spent 20 years myself over the UK, understanding all the dynamics of both football and education and what that looked like. So the UK is creating what you call these independent academies that are delivering education, is delivering residential, and is delivering football. So they're independent outside of a Liverpool, outside of a Manchester United. So for Sadeo, he did his sixth form there, and he got a BTEC program, a BTEC sports program that allowed him to get into university. So Sadeo's now, for my son, he's going to university at Wembley Stadium. So just like Jose was talking about the Barcelona Stadium now doubling up as a university, that's what's happening in all the newer stadiums in the UK. All the newer stadiums, they're not just a football game once a week. They're a community based now. So with Sadeo going university at Wembley Stadium, and with Wembley Stadium, that university having a relationship with Sky Sports, and you get intern opportunities and all this. So now he can build a life around sports, and he can also, from the football side of it, he has the ability, if he's going to be good enough, to potentially get into Slog Time first team and make 150 pounds a week if he's capable of getting there. Or we know how football goes. You're good enough, you'll get scouted to the next situation. So for me as a parent, I had to be comfortable that the educational piece was there. The football was just as important, but it was also the care for the educational piece.
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes important for parents to do their due diligence and investigate what's best for their kid.
Yeah.
Now, I considered the option of going to Spain as well for my kid. I considered that option so he gets a cultural exposure, learns a new language and stuff like that. But in considering that option, I had to make a choice as was that gap to that bridge too long to fill. As me having hands-on and that support system. That's what I was talking about, the support system. How do, I knew the English system. It would be great for us to learn the Spanish system so we know how to support.
Right.
Because that's the important piece. And my nephew is also at West Ham, and what happens when we take these kids out of these environments is that we have to be clear on how to support them. Mm-hmm. We have to be clear. That's like paramount, that they have to be clear how to support them. So if you take Sadeo now, being 19, he's fully integrated from being out there since he's 12. Right. I mean, he's got a car now, he drives, he does all that stuff. Like, he's totally independent, knows how to handle his stuff. I mean, today the car broke down on the highway. He knew how to call the tow truck, sort that out. Yeah.
You bought a second-hand car, man?
Yeah. He bought a little second-hand car to get training, to get back and forth training. He worked all summer, right? And I said, you've got to understand the expectation of a second-hand car. Yes. And I told him when I was out there that you have to take it to the garage and get it serviced so you know where that car is. But of course, he's excited he got a car. He had to learn the hobby. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and was there any antifreeze said he needed in the car. So wasn't. But again, these are things he knew how. Once the problem came, he's been there long enough to know how to. It wasn't a meltdown for him. It was like, right. Okay, and that's important that we when we put kids in new environments, even whether they be in the U.S.,
Right.
that we create the support system for them.
Definitely. We're going to take another commercial break, but Jose, I want you to answer this question when we come back. Is the emphasis on developing the person, because we know what a footballer is, we know what a young person that is educated is, but developing the entire package, I want to know that's if how that looks in you guys' eyes and your program. Okay, we'll be right back.
Okay.
With perfect timing for the height of the summer, Greenhouse Bermuda brings us the island's newest iced tea, Newman's Own Organic Iced Tea in a kaleidoscope of delicious flavors. Most shoppers have seen Newman's Own in the condiment section, recognizable due to the founder's caricature prominently featured on the label, and many pick it up in the knowledge that 100% of the profit goes to registered charities. Newman's Own offers us a new refreshing thirst quencher, dry raspberry, lemon, peach, and passion fruit organic Newman's Own iced teas. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out.
And welcome back. Jose?
Yeah. So, I mean, the question is like very general question, like how we can help them to develop. But yeah, of course. I mean, that's what we are here. I mean, if one Bermudian, they come here and we are going to be the tutors of them. So we just want to help them to develop, on the pitch and off the pitch for sure, but also as a person. For me, that's the most important thing. When they are like 14 years old, we will try to guide them, in every single way. I mean, how to behave in different situations. I mean, of course, I'm not the father, but I'll be like the person who I'm here, and I'll be responsible of these guys. So we want to make sure that they take the right directions in every single term of life, So yeah, I don't know if I'm answering your question. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, you have. I mean, you can only answer because you don't know the culture of the country. Because that leads me to ask Kim the question: how, as a mother, did you make the adjustment, letting your sons go at such a young age?
I think it comes from foundation, really. It starts from young. So they have to be ready to leave the nest at this point. Yes, they was very young, but they mind-wise, they were ready. And I would say that's the biggest part, is that they're mentally ready. They go out there, they have their issues, they see stuff that they're not used to seeing in Bermuda. But I'm a fan call away. We have a conversation. I talk them through it. We talk through it as a family. My husband and I were on the phone with them. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is back in the day, because I'm a boarding school. I came from boarding school myself, and it wasn't. I can pick up the phone and video chat my parents. It was I had to write a letter and put it in the mail. So at this point, I kind of, obviously things have progressed where we can communicate, and it's just leaving the lines of communication open for your children. And you tell them, you go out there and you put your best foot forward, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch, and you represent yourself well. When you're out there, you're representing me, me first, and then you're representing yourself. But it's just talking to your children and setting that total foundation for them to actually be able to leave the nest.
Definitely. For you, Maceo, obviously, a father looks at things just a little bit different. Obviously, in your mind, you wanted to get an education, or you want your kids to get an education, but the emphasis was on being in the right environment for football. Hearing Kim talk about the communication, would you agree, or would you reflect that that's how you've communicated as well?
Yeah, most definitely. The communication and the support piece is important to be able to push them through challenges, because there will be challenges, and we can't paint the picture that this is just going to be smooth sailing. It will be challenges, and they will be better off for it, So I'm always encouraged our kids to leave the nest and to go and expose and experience the world. I definitely always encourage it. For my son, and as for me, the football piece was first more important to him. The football piece is what made him do the educational piece. So when the football piece was right, now he actually did the educational piece. So that was the carrot. That was always the carrot, and there were always debates between his mother and me, who's an educator, as to giving him too much football. And I was always pushing back. No. I'm going to give him a lot of football because that's making him do the educational piece. And I always used to say, for me, I went to university. I got a scholarship to go to university when I was 19. I didn't go to get an education. I went to play football. I got an education. I got an education through football. I realized the penny drop that I needed to get an education, but I went for football. And that's a boy's thinking. That's an athlete's thinking. Sports is more important than education to him. And I always say it, even in high school, if the teacher, I would have easily took an F from the teacher if she didn't tell my mom and my daddy. Like, give me an F and just let me play football.
Right.
Just don't tell my mother and daddy. So when I looked in the curriculum of what I wanted to do in my life, I didn't see football on there. So why did I even want to be in school if I didn't see what I wanted to do on where I can go? So for me, the football piece was the carrot to push Sadeo to now the academic piece now, and he's done the academic piece. He gets it now. He's done it. So that's it. That's important to create that balance.
Yeah, definitely. In closing, Jose, I heard Kim say to you, you guys have been trying to, or you've been in discussions for about 6 months on the criterion and everything. When you look at what you're trying to accomplish, what would you say would be short-term goals and long-term goals of your program?
The short term is to start building a nice program, in terms, especially with education. For us, that's why the reason of this project, because here in Spain there's tons of academies, to be honest, but the education piece is they don't take care of it, So now we have this program. It's everything is online. Now here, everything is going to be, face-to-face on campus, good education. We'll have the soccer. We'll start getting good players every single year. And the goal is to have an elite team in 3 years, where we can have, players from all over. We'll help them with a big scholarship, full need in some cases too. We have the okay from the school, so that's why we want to help families that they cannot afford, because at the end all these programs they have a price. So that's in the long term. We want to create this top football program to be able to fit the professional teams, not only the Gymnastic Tarragona. We want to offer these players to to other professional clubs here in Spain. Okay,
Definitely.
but always education is first.
Yeah. So Kim, I'm going to ask you the same question only because you're on the ground. You know the temperature and the temperament of Bermuda and Bermudians. What would be your involvement, short term and long term?
So my involvement, as I said, I want to be able to be on top of our whole policy, to be able to understand that fully, and then guide the families through to the next step. You know, I want to be able to do it here in Bermuda initially and then branch out, because we not only just work, I not only just work with Bermuda families, I work with the Caribbean as well. But I want to be able to fully commit to that full curriculum that we're coming out with first, and then build from there. But I'm definitely number one is getting the full understanding. I have to do a little bit of Spanish myself, so
The academic program is fully accredited, so don't worry about that, Kim. All right.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming on. We're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up with Maceo. Maceo, we're going to make, even though the season hasn't started, we're going to make some early predictions. We'll be right back. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nuco is a company impressively dedicated to the production of coconut concoctions. Their motto is coconuts for life, and however that resonates, it seems to have done the trick for vegan snack lovers. Nuco uses 3 ingredients in their wraps: pure organic and GMO-free coconut meat, coconut water, and unrefined virgin coconut oil. Nuco extols them as the all-natural alternative to bread and tortillas. This month we're featuring gluten-free Nuco organic coconut wraps in a 5-pack. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back. Well, Maceo, we were talking earlier about the transfers. Let's talk a little bit about on paper. If the season was to start and we got a full season in, on paper, who would you give the nod to for promotion? I mean, for championships?
PHC is going to win the league here, hands down. Hands down, PHC is going to run away with the league. They got all the ingredients now.
Okay, that's the Premier.
Yeah.
What about the First Division?
Oh yeah, actually, the First Division. That's always a Hamilton Parish. They're gonna run away with that as well. And they picked up another player in Diego Richardson, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big pickup, and his style of play suits how Sergio likes to play. So Hamilton Parish will run away with that as well. They didn't lose.
There'll be a lot of people at the Devonshire Club of Wolves talking, having a say.
Wolves, I watched them play. They're not going. While they got the players there, they don't have the organization and the coaching.
Oh, okay.
So they don't have the organization. So they're going to have players that want to play 6 different ways, and without that organization and that spearheaded coaching, that's going to be a problem. And they will be a team that can beat anybody on any day. So definitely Wolves has to be in the reckoning, but Hamilton Parish is going to just be structured enough to be able to run away with that.
Yeah. With Flanagan's pulling out of the league, what teams do you think will benefit from their players?
Well, that movement's not happening yet, right? That
Yeah,
means
they're
that
out. They're out. So those players are free to move.
No, right. We don't know where their players.
We don't know where they're going. Yeah, we don't know where
their
going.
players are going.
Yeah.
And with ultimately,
I know some of them have been training with Southampton Rangers.
Yeah, with Southampton Rangers, they'll
Yes.
that's probably where they'll see their opportunity to play more football because of the
Yeah.
number situation. So
Right.
I think those players will filter into where they see the opportunity to get a game. But I don't think they're going to make a significant difference in the outcome of everything because they're just going to be playing for the opportunity to get a game.
To get a game, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So now you've predicted PHC and Wolves winning the leagues. Remember, there's 3 teams going down
From the Premier League.
from the Premier League.
Yeah.
Who would you say are definitely 2?
Well, Crossroads is ready to return. Crossroads is a candidate with the losses of players that are here. And Robin Wood can return. Robin Wood can actually, with those losses, Robin Wood, for me, I know after going from winning the league to potentially getting relegated is beat Diverse Jump, but they're got to be candidates, Crossroads and definitely Rangers. Rangers, they might want to return home. They like, they want, I hate to say it, but they just might want to return home where they really like it, where they're comfortable. That's where they've always been most comfortable.
Wow.
No, they've never been fully, accepting of the rule in the Premier League, but they might just want to return home.
They had a few seasons where they were matching the quote unquote big boys.
Yeah. But after a while, that's been their pattern over the history, right? In their history, they'll have a few seasons that they match in, and then they just don't get it right. And next thing you know, they're going back down.
There you go. Well,
So that's been
all
their
right. So
pattern
you
over
have
the
it.
last 30
That's Macio's predict.
over the last 30 years.
Next week we'll get Punchy and Nikita on board to see what they, and hopefully by next week we would have some idea of if and when we're going to get a season started. As we go through this pandemic, we know the struggles. We've heard all the stories. There's no need to elaborate anymore on it. It's just we're waiting, and hopefully by next Sunday we'll have an update on if and when we can get a season started. Of course, I know the association will want teams to have some time to prepare, i.e., coaches with the players more than 20 at a time. So we'll see how it goes, and hopefully we do have some football. If not the end of October, early November. So thank you very much, Maceo. We'll be back next week at 6 o'clock
Looking
with
forward to
another
it.
edition of the Island Stats Football Show. Folks, enjoy your evening.